Federal prosecutors plan to ask a grand jury to indict Hunter Biden by the end of this month. That anticipated indictment related to an illegal gun purchase made back in 2018. In June, he was offered a plea deal with prosecutors, but that agreement fell apart during a court hearing. Biden's attorney is now saying in a statement that the president's son would challenge any effort to proceed with the trial, saying the original agreement, quote, remains valid and prevents any additional charges from being filed. All right, for more insight, let's bring in Mychael Schnell, congressional reporter with our partners at The Hill. Mychael, thanks for being with us. First of all, how much of a political nightmare is this for the White House and for President Biden's 2024 campaign?
Look, Nichole, every time Hunter Biden is in the headlines and is discussed in the news reports, it's not great for President Biden and the White House. And we had some evidence of that just today. A CNN poll came out that said 55% of Americans believe that when he was vice president, Joe Biden was somehow involved with Hunter Biden's business dealings when it came to Ukraine and to China. So again, when you bring up Hunter Biden's names, it's clear that Americans are linking that with potential influence and potential involvement from former vice President Joe Biden. So that's not great. But it also, these continued reports about Hunter Biden fuels House Republicans, right? It gives them fodder. We've already seen congressional investigations into Hunter Biden, into that plea deal, into the Biden family business dealing. So as we see more news reports about Hunter Biden, it gives more fodder to those House Republicans, which in the end isn't great for the White House.
All right, so the House GOP, as you know, you've written articles about this, also weighing an impeachment inquiry into the Biden family. Is that likely to proceed with this indictment now looming on the horizon?
Nichole, that is a key question that a lot of folks are wondering right now. Last month, Speaker Kevin McCarthy said that the House could open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden as soon as when the House reconvenes in September, which is just next week. And then in a subsequent interview, he said that he believes the natural next step in the process would be opening an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. So right now, all signs suggest that there will be a vote at some point this fall on opening an impeachment inquiry. The key question is, are there votes there for that resolution to pass and for that inquiry to actually be opened? That remains to be seen. There are a handful of Republicans, particularly some moderates, who have raised concerns with opening an inquiry at this point. Don Bacon, Mike Lawler, both of whom represent districts that President Biden won in 2020. They said they haven't yet seen evidence that brings them to the belief that an inquiry should be opened. And Ken Buck, who's a conservative, has also voiced some hesitation. So whether or not we see an impeachment inquiry opened into President Biden will depend on the vote count. But I want to be clear, it's worth mentioning James Comer, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, just this week said that he believes they have the votes to pass a resolution to open an impeachment inquiry. So we'll just have to see how the votes land if there's a vote on the House floor.
And before we let you go, Mychael, obviously we know if this happens, it has to happen by the end of the month because of the Speedy Trial Act. But we've also learned the special counsel Weiss may file charges against Biden in other venues, including D.C., including California.
Yeah, look, there's a lot to pay attention to right now. Obviously, Weiss set that sort of deadline for himself, saying in that court filing that he will have some sort of, he will have his result he will have a decision by the end of the month. And I will say that this does correspond with a really heightened moment for House Republicans. You talk about this plea deal, you also have to talk about the congressional investigations. As I mentioned, McCarthy signaled that the House could hold that vote as soon as next week. A lot happening in the month of September, a lot having to do with Hunter Biden, a lot of questions still having to be asked, a lot of eyes on this topic.
Absolutely, and a lot of ripple effects potentially. All right, Mychael Schnell, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.